Yeah, I've never seen this. Amazing. She must have rehearsed for days to do that, or weeks even. Have you seen this? Michelle Pfeiffer cracking all the heads off the mannequins in Batman Returns. Yeah, Batman Returns, she was Catwoman. There's a video here. She really did it. I didn't know that she actually did it. That's amazing.
Okay, action.
Cinemas, magical buildings that allow us to immerse ourselves into countless curious worlds, to fully experience lives which we may never get the chance to live, and sometimes understand our own lives just that little bit more. But for so many of us, the cinema is more than a building. It's a place that molds us, inspires us, and maybe even changed us when we least expected. And we've missed them so much. But now the cinema is back. So come with me now as I, Perry J. O'Halloran, take you inside some of this country's greatest independent cinemas to explore their stories, their secrets, and more than just a few of our favourite things. But if you think you've missed the cinema, just wait till you see how much the cinema has missed you.
Now, this pleasant little shipping town in Kent might seem quiet, but every night of the week, some of the biggest sounds on film can be heard coming from the speakers of the Royal Cinema. And it's all thanks to Michael and his business partner, Peter.
Peter's an electrician, and that was the business really, electrical, sound and lighting. Believe it or not, we used to go out and do mobile discos. I don't think I could these days, I'd be booed off the floor. We came round and found it much as it looks today, but it was clean and tidy, but not open and obviously not in any kind of use. We acquired it quite easily. We opened it as a cinema, booked a film and...
The rest, as they say, is
but
history.
It is actually that simple. It was February half term, 1994, and we had queues at the door before we opened. It really, honestly, is a simple story. I always wanted a cinema and got one. It really is as simple as that.
Well, I can already see the sweets and the treats on the other side. Do you mind if we take a little look at the concession
Of course,
stand?
let's have a look.
As someone who's always dreamed about owning a cinema myself, I feel like there's a lot I can learn from a man like Michael, though I'm surprised to learn about his feelings towards popcorn.
If I tell the truth, I don't like popcorn much.
Really? You went through all this trouble of running a cinema, you don't like popcorn?
Well, it's probably as well, really, isn't it? It's best not to eat or drink what you sell, so it smells nice when the people come in. So I like the smell of it, I like the atmosphere.
Well, I think that's a massive part of most of us growing up, going to the cinema, and as soon as you smell that popcorn smell, no matter where you are, even if you're not anywhere near a cinema, it almost takes you back to that time, or you just get that feeling of being excited about going into the cinema. What do you think that is? I mean, that's not even the magic of watching a film, that's just being near a film.
It's all part of the atmosphere. Some cinemas had a lovely air freshening scent. ABC cinemas had a most fabulous scent, and when you went home, the next day you could smell it on your coat. It was so strong. Odeon's was more subtle, but I've never found out what they used.
Wait, so this was something that the cinemas themselves would kind of pump into
I
the
think
cinema?
it was put in the ventilation systems. So the ABC smell was the best. I don't know what they used, but it was fabulous. I say it lingered on your coat and hat until the next day and beyond. The Odeon was a bit more subtle.
That's not something I've ever thought about, because growing up sort of in the 80s and 90s and going to the cinema, the smell of the popcorn was always what just...
Well, this really preceded the smell of it, because I think popcorn only started in bags, didn't have warmers. That came, I would say 70s onwards, popcorn came in warmers in big quantities, but it was just in bags in those days.
Do Do you think that's something we're likely to see return? People pumping signature smells?
Well, I've got a few air fresheners in there. They probably weren't working today, but there are a few air fresheners in them now, and somebody actually complained and moved one.
Wow, and who knows what kind of modern day things we might miss in the cinemas of the future.
The only other vital component is the projection room. Michael, could we take a look at the Royals projection room?
Certainly. Before we leave, we do tea and coffee also.
Well, that's, yeah.
Tea, coffee and hot chocolate.
Well, that's not something that every cinema does either.
This way to the projection room.
Lead the way. Let's take a look at the Royals projection room. After you, Michael. The projection room. Here we are.
I'm going to surprise you because probably some people, especially if they're 75 years old, would say, oh, I love the 35mm and I love making up films, but the Royal is unique and I love the digital projector and I love clicking play.
That's the new magic of digital cinema.
It is.
That it works itself, no more reel changes.
No, it was hard work and it was archaic. Fair play to the makers of digital projectors. We can still do with that what we did with 35mm projector. It all keeps running, but we can have a space for me to close the curtains, bring up the lights, press the button for CinemaScope, dim down, open up again. You can do all that just as though you were running around here furiously with two projectors. It's just wonderful. I just watch it happen. I just see to the lights, the curtains. It's wonderful.
So for years, it was pretty standard to have reels of film everywhere and the process of winding them back up and canning them up and sending them off again.
It was very hard work. A can of 6 reels of film is very heavy to carry about. I mean, this projection room isn't very high, but I feel sorry for the people in the past that carried them right up to the top of the Tooting Granada, somewhere like that. At the end of the last show, it all had to be taken apart. Sometimes 6, sometimes I don't know how many reels, if it was Lord of the Rings. And it took a long time to take it all off, put it back into cans, carry it all back down for collection, and of course make it up. I mean, it all came in and it all had to be wound onto the cake stand. It was hard work. I love digital projection, it's absolutely wonderful.
It's really heartwarming to hear that you're such a big fan of digital projection. A lot of people are. They're actually way more fascinating than I think a lot of us realise. The whole new system of queuing up digital films for the digital projector it's actually a really cool system. But there must be things that you still really love and miss about the days of running the 35mm projector.
No.
Nothing.
Then it's just as well that the future looks bright for digital projection, though I am grateful its analog buddy will stay put for now.
This is obviously where all the magic generates. This is where everything gets started up inside the machine and then out into the auditorium. Can we take a look at the main event? Can we see the auditorium?
Certainly. Please, Perry, after you.
Wow. This has to be the most unique auditorium I've ever stepped inside. Michael, this is amazing.
Yeah, a lot of people do think that.
Yeah, there's so much going on in this room, from the lights to the curtains on the screen and the ornate details around the sides. Is this the way that the Royal has always been?
It's unaltered apart from the lanterns, and I suspect they had to be raised because of my old favourite CinemaScope. I suspect they were in the way of the CinemaScope screen because the old Academy picture would have been actually further back and a square.
How many seats are in here?
Now there are 440, but in the middle and at the front there were more, and it had more than 700 seats.
This almost looks like an original curtain here at the front. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's similar to what was there. They are brand new. Well, I say brand new, they were made and installed in 2014 with a new screen. There were some old red curtains when we came here, but they didn't reflect any colours and they were very dingy from the smoke of the bingo, and I desperately wanted to get rid of them and have some new curtains. So the colour of the curtains is probably the colour of the curtains that were here originally, which had a pattern on them similar to the railings down here.
Do you mind if I go down and take a little closer look?
Of course, yes, please do.
Let's see.
I'm 75 years old. The cinema keeps me young. One of a business partnership that reopened this cinema in 1994. I'm actually retired now, but I still come along every day voluntarily to start the show, which is the part that I like most of all. I can't be kept away.
So how did it all start for Michael, that first cinematic experience?
It must have been Disney's Cinderella at Sittingbourne Odeon. I remember thinking the humans in it, they looked different, but I couldn't make out quite why. When the pumpkin turned into a coach, I mean, I was just, well, couldn't understand it, but it was wonderful.
And that word that you use there, magic, especially when you're kind of 4, 5, 6 years old, I mean, that's the age where most of us, we just see a film on the cinema screen for the first time, and it feels like magic. It's the closest thing that we've kind of come, particularly with a Disney film, where that's usually what they're all about. You feel like you're part of something really special in this very special room that you have to visit to experience that.
Yes, exactly, yes. I mean, those images, as I say, the pumpkin, the mice, it was just amazing. Colour, of course. I don't know that I'd seen television even, but of course, if I had, it would have been black and white then.
And it's brilliant that that's still something that we have for children today, that might just spark a bit of inspiration, creativity in them that keeps them coming back to the cinema or enjoying films.
Oh, yes, I agree. When we reopened this, there were no multiplexes in Kent at all. And I went along to one with an open mind, a late night show after we'd finished here. And I wanted to enjoy it. But it was just a plain room with what looked like car headlights shining on it when we went in. It was scope, cinema scope, so there was a line at the top and bottom. And that really annoyed me. And I quite enjoyed the film, but it just wasn't right for me. It has to start with curtains opening. There has to be masking. I'd like to see the wider screen when the feature comes on. And it was just someone putting a film on in a room with no passion.
But this is a completely different experience. There's usually different ornate things and decorations going on inside most cinema auditoriums, but we've got crests and it's like a mock Tudor design.
Yes, I suppose it was all done to be in keeping with Faversham. I mean, the architect was Andrew Mather, Odeon Leicester Square, and I have read that his wife had some input as well. We have to convince people that it is built of bricks and concrete. We had a terrible time trying to persuade the insurance people that it's not built of timber. I mean, we have to keep saying it's brick, steel and concrete, and it's just placed on the walls as decoration.
A mock Tudor design is one thing, but you've got these beautiful light fixtures above us as well, which again is just something that you don't see in many cinemas at all.
But as it turns out, the building has mostly remained the same for a long time.
In the early 60s, I first came here as a customer. We came through the front foyer, we came through the middle foyer, we went down steps, we came up steps, and I thought we're still not here. So that surprised me. I think the lanterns were the first thing I noticed. Then I started looking round and all the animals and birds and the crests all around. It may not be authentic, but in keeping with Faversham one way or another.
It's not uncommon that you would walk in to see a film and it's just 4 walls and a screen. But what's the story with the crests? It looks like each one of them is completely unique and different.
Well, I don't know, but there are some tropical-looking animals. I really don't know why they're here.
Yeah, I think I saw a dolphin over here.
Yes.
So already there's a lot of mystery in the Royal. What other surprising, fascinating or secret things might people be surprised to know about the Royal?
It's not so much what they don't know, it's more to have to tell them what they think it is.
Do you mean when they see it from the outside?
And inside, they think it's anything but a cinema. Some think it was a church. Some think it actually goes back to medieval times.
There's not too many of those standing.
Well, I'm glad that ceiling is actually
Yeah.
concrete and mesh. I wouldn't want an earth and plaster ceiling up there. But it was a purpose-built Odeon. I suppose they started building it in 1935 and it opened in March 1936. But I think they want to think it's something else, or part of it has been something else, but no, it was all purpose-built, all a purpose-built Odeon cinema. So it's possibly a disappointment to some people that it was no more.
I think it's just as fascinating when you find out that it was placed here specifically for watching films, for enjoying films, and in such a beautiful environment as well.
We have countless compliments about how polite the staff are, how pleasant and how helpful the staff are. I think they're surprised that they say good evening and say good night when they go. I do try to make the show start with a bit of oomph. The curtains open on Pearl and Dean. Hopefully the film is cinema scope, so I press the button and the screen gets wider. The lights all go down, it opens up to a wider screen and a nice bright picture, landscape or something. They think, wow.
Yeah.
But we just do our best to make it good, to make it exciting, to make them want to come back.
So it's not just a case of people come through the front door, buy a ticket, come in, watch the film and then leave again. You're actually making sure they've got an experience to remember from the moment they sit down and watch the film. It doesn't just end.
There were so many good and pleasant and supportive comments on the social media. It's quite amazing, really. They gather. People used to wait for one another in the front foyer. They knew others were coming, and quite large groups. And I can see them from the projection room, and they stand here and talk. So it's not just coming to see a film. It is a night out. And at the end, and we never ever rush. We never hurry anybody out. Many people do sit and watch the credits to the end, and then they stay and talk about the film, and we don't hurry them out. I think we're partly led by the customers, and we run it how they want it run.
Which is nice. I mean, that's something that I'm definitely finding with lots of independent cinemas, is that they listen to what their customers want, and it helps both sides. Everybody's having a great time when they come along. So what do you think is the future of the Royal? What do you see in the Royal's future, as well as the future of cinemas in this country?
Cinemas in general in this country, I think they will survive. As far as we're concerned, the Royal is unique. I'm absolutely convinced it's totally unique. Not only the building, but we who run it and the people that come here. I don't think there's anything like it anywhere else. I'm sure there isn't. Being unique will carry us forward.
Unique's the word. Magic and unique.
Well, if I can't own my own cinema, I can only try my hardest to get a job in one. And now, I've got the right connection.
So you've got a job going? If I was to maybe put my CV across the table, you might be interested in chatting to me later. And we're good friends now anyway, so you could probably get me a job behind the popcorn.
Well, you never know.
All right, not a yes.
The Royal in Faversham. If you're persistent, they'll keep your CV on file.